right, it looks like it's 6 o'clock. With that being said, we'll go ahead and call to order the February meeting of the Beavercreek Planning Commission. I guess first action item would be roll call, and then we will also need to excuse Mr. Self as well.
Mr. Ayers?
Here.
Mr. Diker?
Here.
Mr. Loftus?
Here.
Mr. Meyer?
Here.
Mr. Self is absent.
Do we need to take a vote?
A motion to.
Yeah. So Mr. I'd motion to excuse Mr. Self from the February meeting.
Mr. Chair, I'll second.
And with that, we'll do that by general consensus. Next item would be approval of the agenda. Any changes, corrections, additions? Nope. All right, with that, I will need a motion.
Mr. I'd motion to approve the February 2022 Planning Commission agenda.
Mr. Chair, I second.
And with that, we'll do that by general consensus as well. Yes. Last perfunctory item here would be approval of minutes from the January 5th Beavercreek Planning Commission. Any changes or corrections? All right, with that, I will need a motion.
Mr. Chair, I will move to approve the minutes from the January 5th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
Mr. Chair, I'd second.
And we will also do that by general consensus. All right, we have one item on the agenda today. It is a public hearing, PUD 22-2, the SVG rezoning. This is a public hearing, so if anybody has any comments, please limit yourself to 2 minutes. It doesn't look like we've got a lot out in the crowd, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and read the case before us.
This is case number PUD 22-2 on an application filed by Alan Cummings, 2288 Grange-Hall Road, Beavercreek, Ohio, 45431. The application requests the rezoning of approximately 10 acres from B4 Highway Business District and CPUD 519 B3 Commercial Plan Unit Development to a CPUD Commercial Plan Unit Development. 5.787 acres is located at 3415 CJ Drive, and 4.270 acres is located to the south and east of 3415 CJ Drive, further described as Book 5, Page 7, Parcel 23, and part of Parcel 2 on the Greene County Property Tax Atlas.
Thank you so much. And with that, if we could have the applicant, if you could step forward, please say name and address.
Good evening. My name is Alan Cummings, 2669 Greenside Drive, Beavercreek. Thank you all for turning out tonight for this very scant agenda. I'm a repeat. You may remember, Nick, I think you were not here, but I was here in December, and you moved it and moved it for a recommendation, and we took it to council, and council had a little different slant on the thing, so we regrouped, and I'm back here tonight to answer any questions you may have after the presentation. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. Before you is an application requesting approval of approximately 10 acres from PUD and B4 to a new PUD in order to combine those two properties. The property is located on CJ Drive. The 6-acre parcel is the current location of the SVG Motors, and then just to the south of that is the 4.27 acre parcel that is currently part of the Beaver Valley Shopping Center, part of the existing planned unit development. That 4.27 acres contains the vacant pad for the former movie theater, as well as adjacent parking for the existing Beaver Valley Shopping Center. So as the applicant stated, this case came before you in December of 2021. The Planning Commission recommended approval to City Council on that case, and when it went to City Council, some of the members had some issues with some of the uses that are permitted within the B4 zoning district, which is the district that the current SVG is located in. The applicant decided to withdraw his case and come back to the Planning Commission with a new plan unit development. The benefit to the applicant of doing a full plan unit development for the entire property, let me just see if I can for both the 6 acres and the 4 acres is that within that PUD and within those allowed uses, we can allow for recreational vehicles to be a permitted use within the PUD instead of, as is in the B4 district or in the B3 district, a conditional use, which would require the applicant, once he received that rezoning, to come back to Planning Commission to get approval to continue to do the RV sales. So there's that benefit for the applicant as far as PUDs go. And then in the future, for future development of the site, the PUD allows for additional flexibility for additional buildings on the same lot and some varying setbacks that normally you wouldn't be able to do based on a straight zoning district with our current zoning code. The benefit to the city of having the PUD is obviously that development flexibility, but also our ability to be able to limit the types of uses that would be permitted within this PUD. So within a B4 zoning district, which is a highway business district, there are a lot of uses that you might normally not see within a PUD that is within the vicinity of single-family residential. So there are some uses in there that with the PUD, we can then remove and then just allow the basic community commercial uses. So those B3 uses are outlined in the staff report and does exclude some of the more intense uses like kennels and storage warehouses and that kind of thing that would normally be permitted in a B4 zoning district. So staff is recommending approval with the conditions that are attached in the attached resolution. And if you have any questions, I can answer those following the public hearing.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. This is a public hearing. Do we have anybody who would like to come up and talk to us right now? All right. With that, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and I will start with questions to my right.
Mr. Loftus,
Yes.
we did receive one letter
Oh,
that
we
I
did
wanted to
receive,
make
yes.
sure that I put it in the record.
Yep.
The letter was from David Brindle of 3449 Napanee Drive, and he stated that they did not object to the rezoning, but they were concerned about noise, risk of damage to the property, to their property, littering, and devaluation of adjacent properties. The planning commissioners also did receive a copy of the email as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Just one question for staff. So could you just clarify for me the process? So we're putting this into a PUD, correct? And then there would be additional stages later?
Yes, so we're putting it back, we're converting it to a PUD. It will obviously, if Planning Commission does recommend approval, we'll go back to City Council and they will review it again, 2 readings at City Council. What we are doing with this, since it's already an existing site, is we are adopting the existing, what is out there now as the specific site plan. It's the existing specific site plan. And any changes that would come in the future would have to go either through a new specific site plan or a modification, which would more than likely come through you and then City Council again.
Okay, so would now be the appropriate time to address some of these like noise concerns, or is that a later stage?
I think in the resolution, Randy did put in one condition concerning speakers. I believe he put in there that the speakers either have to be turned off or completely inaudible. In looking at the letter that the neighbor, which I believe he's actually this one here, in looking at his letter, the majority of his complaints are for what's going on the site right now. So there are people doing donuts, there's trash, there's noise, and I think he agrees, if this site were to be developed, more than likely the situation is going to improve because there won't be that empty lot there for people to be doing whatever it is that they're doing there.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Ayers?
Just one question for staff. So moving this from a B4 to a PUD, that's going to alleviate any concern about conditional uses? Because I know we had a concern before in the Triangle lot. It was a conditional use that needed to be approved to put the RVs there. So we're going to have no concern. They're not going to have to come back to us for any conditional use approvals.
Correct. This will address all of that all at once.
That's it. Thank you.
Perfect. Mr. Diker?
So just one question, I know it's spoken about in the report, but just to confirm out here in the open, I know the last time that we discussed this, there were concerns about lighting and sound barrier or, the natural buffering.
Yes.
Nothing's changed in the
Nothing
site
is
plan.
changing. In our zoning code, there is a 50-foot buffer requirement regardless of if it's commercial abutting any type of residential, there has to be a 50-foot buffer, and the only thing that can go within that 50-foot buffer is landscaping or like a detention pond. There can be no parking, there can be no lighting, none of that. So that nothing on that end is changing. As far as any future use of that site to expand the parking and putting more lighting, they would have to come back to you guys, and obviously all of that would be addressed then.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, that was easy. I know we keep hitting this speaker thing. So any external internal speaker shall be shut off, reduced, inaudible after the business closes in the evening. Do we have set defined hours for said business right now, and do they have the ability to?
I do not know what their existing hours are. If you
Okay.
wanted to set hours as
Well,
far as,
My concern really is more if they're hearing this during the day, like, should we treat this like a photometric plan where you shouldn't have light
Shouldn't.
spill over? It should be inaudible at a certain decibel meter at the edge of the property. I mean, when you're abutting, that would really be my only concern is if we could, now I can't propose this, but that we would tighten up this language to be a little bit more friendly.
I agree.
I agree with you. I think all of this stuff is gonna get fixed with building over here.
Yeah.
Because it's an unkempt lot and people
Right.
just use it for whatever. I would do that if I had an empty lot next to my house.
Sure.
Guess what? I would, we would use it. So I totally get that. But yeah, the concern is just
During daytime hours.
yeah, during
I
daytime, it
understand.
is a little loud just in general. You can pretty much hear it anywhere in the plaza there. So just a way to tighten up the language would be my suggestion if anybody wants to take that on. But other than that, I think this is, I'm going to use Mr. Self's term, I think this is kind of a no-brainer. So I think it'll brighten up the property quite a bit. That area needs redeveloped badly, so I think it's really good. So that is all I have. That I will need a motion, or if you want to take my suggestion, I'd be more than happy either way.
So I guess I know you can't make the motion, but do you have suggested language that you?
How would we, give me an idea of how would we, and then I guess legally, is that enforceable? Is there already language in the code that would address this?
There isn't really, so we don't have any noise type of language in our code, and I think the police department's noise language goes after like 10 p.m. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's something that I really need to think about. Like, I don't want to just like jot something down that we can't enforce. I understand the angle that you want to take, and I agree with it 100%. I don't think it's necessary for their announcements to be heard in the neighborhood next door.
Yeah, exactly.
So are you able to just add that condition between this hearing and when council hears it?
Yes, we absolutely could do that. So if you guys just want to give me the direction to expand on that condition to address noise during the day, we can talk about it. We can talk about it with our legal team.
Like a specific,
and,
like an audit, I mean, again, let's make it black and white.
And
Go,
make
let's set a decibel level.
right, and make sure that it can
and
be
just make it
enforced.
enforceable. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that would be the only thing.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think when they came last time, we had a lot of residents who came and spoke, and they said that the SVG has been a good steward or a good neighbor, and that they usually keep their music relatively low, right? It's during the day, it's not terribly audible. And I think during the night, they said they usually turn it off. Sometimes they forget, right? But that was the majority of the complaints we had, I think, was about the noise. But they said they're generally a good neighbor and will be receptive to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
We haven't gotten any complaints about SVG in the past few years.
I just worry if they put a building
Going there.
closer, right, to the residential, as they get closer, then yeah. Although some of that might even be coming from the swim club. I don't know how loud they play their stuff
Possibly.
during the summer too, but again, that's just be my suggestion that we tighten up the language. But
I agree.
with that, somebody needs to put a motion though to just basically request you guys to, how would we do
Not
that? since-
necessarily. I mean, if you feel comfortable enough with just directing us
Sure.
to add additional language, if you trust us, then
Yes, we do. Yes, we trust you to do that. Okay, well, with that, I guess we will need a motion to approve or disapprove.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve PUD 22-2 with the attached 8 conditions.
Do I have a second?
Do you want to have the direction, give the direction?
She's gonna.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd second.
All right, we'll need a vote.
Mr. Diker,
Yes.
Mr. Meyer,
Yes.
Mr. Ayers,
Yes.
Mr. Loftus.
Yes. And with that, the motion passes. We have nothing else on the agenda today, so I will just need someone to motion for adjournment.
Mr. Chair, I would motion to adjourn the February 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
Mr. Chair, I'd second.
And we'll do that by general consensus.